Hey everyone, and welcome to another awesome TitleCapture interview. Our aim is to help title agencies stay ahead of the curve by bringing them insights from experts and thought leaders with unique perspectives. And our guest today is none other than Wade Vander Molen. Some of you know Wade as the DC Title Guy. If you don't, check out dctitleguy.com. Wade is the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Pruitt Title in Virginia and DC, a title agency we have the privilege of working with here at TitleCapture. And until recently, Wade used to be the Director of Sales and Marketing over at Stewart for a little bit over 10 years. So make sure you grab your pen and paper because this is going to be a very insightful conversation. Wade, welcome to the show. Really honored to have you. Is there anything you'd like to add to my awesome intro?
No, that's spot on. I have been in the business since 2005. I was in Phoenix, Arizona for about 7 years. So I have been in two different markets selling title insurance and talking to realtors and enjoying it all the way.
Awesome. So how did you get to be in title? How did you start? Was it something you ever always dreamt of, or?
Yes, when I was a child, they were like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I want to be a title rep," and that's what I want to do. No, so it's funny. I teach a lot of classes to realtors, so I make this joke all the time. So when I got out of college, I did social work. I used to work for Child Protective Services in Phoenix, and so I was doing the Lord's work out there. And I make the joke in classes that prepared me for working with real estate agents doing social work. So yes, so I did that, and I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I became a loan officer after that. A buddy of mine was like, "Hey, come sell mortgages. It's so easy." And in 2004, it was pretty easy to have someone call you up and say, "Hey, I got an FHA loan. Can you refi into a streamline?" So I kind of learned the business, and every while, like people wearing nice clothes would come in and bring us lunch and talk to us about using their title company. And I didn't know much about any of that. I just know that job looked kind of fun, right? Because it was better than sitting in a cubicle answering the phone and trying to convince people that refining was the best thing that they had to do, or consolidating debt. So I called up the title company we were sending our refinances to, and again, I really didn't know at the time what the title company really did. I just knew that on the checklist it said send title order to Susie Smith, whatever. And so I called and said, "Hey, there are any title companies that had marketing jobs available?" This is in August of 2005. Okay. So imagine the real estate market in Phoenix, Arizona at that time. Extremely crazy. And so anyway, I had a Capital Title, which was the largest title company in Phoenix at the time. They sold to Land America, then that didn't go well to Land America, then Fidelity bought Land America. But anyway, so I interviewed there, and I'm from Iowa, and the guy that owned the company, he ran the company. He's an Italian guy from Chicago who's a big Cubs fan, and I'm a big Cubs fan, and we mostly just talked about sports. And in 2005, there was no risk in hiring me. If I didn't make it, it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
So they hired me, and I remember, and I have this in some of my articles on my website. My first day in title, I show up and I go to my desk and try to get into my computer, and the branch manager walks in with a big long sheet of paper, and she says, "These are all the people that send business to our office currently. You should call them and introduce yourself as the newest title rep and tell them you want to meet because you want to help them with their business in some way." And at that point in time, I knew I was in trouble because I didn't know what to tell them. I didn't know how I could help them. I just knew that I had this job and it was a new job. And I was pretty scared because I didn't know what to do. It was very interesting.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to be watching this that are probably in your shoes back then, but they're in your shoes now.
Yeah.
And it would be great if we can offer them a lot of actionable insight, and tips.
Sure.
But before we go into the main topic of today, which is around, how to attract, and convert and nurture more agents to work with your title company, I do want to jump into something that's probably on everyone's mind, which is the current state of the market and where it's going, right? And so I would really love to hear your perspective on, where do you, what's your take on the market and how do you think it's going to evolve throughout 2023 and maybe even after that?
Well, I've kind of used this analogy in the past that, 2020, 2021, and even part of 22 was like going to Vegas and having a great time with your friends, and now you're on the flight home, hungover.
Right.
2% or 3% interest rates obviously were not sustainable. Great if you were in the market during that time as a title person and you made your money, congratulations, good job. And now hopefully you're learning some other skills to attract customers because you're going to have to. But I don't think, well, I know that, there's not going to be a quick fix to the inventory issue. Millions of homeowners have rates under 4. And it's kind of a needs-based market where if you have to sell, if you need to, then sure. But if you don't really need to, you're not. And the fact that, there's low housing inventory and there's still people that want to buy houses, we're kind of in this weird spot right now, and it's not going to go away. Typically, by this point in time of the year, we have more inventory coming on every week. And what's happening, at least in my market, and I talk to people around the country in their markets, is that inventory is getting eaten up almost as fast as it comes on. So it's almost like a net zero or a net negative on that sort of thing. Sure, interest rates potentially, we don't know for sure. Potentially, I've heard potentially might come down in the summertime, maybe high 5s, potentially. We don't know that for sure. But we do know, or I know, that the rates aren't going to be 4% anytime soon. So I think we're in for a ride for a couple of years, at least 2 or 3 years on this inventory issue. And we just have to make the best of it by controlling what we can control, which is our actions, our calls, our follow-ups, our appointments, our asks for business, our value propositions. And we have to really lean hard into that. And unfortunately, there were a lot of people that they didn't have to do a ton of that for a couple of years, right? It was like, hey, look how great of a title rep I am. All this business is coming in. I'm so amazing. And now they're like, what's happened to my business? And really, it was the market. And so, that's why I'm excited to talk to you about what actionable items people can take to, offset losses or attract new customers right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think in January me and my co-founder Keith, we were at the Inman in New York City, and the vibe there was like, hey, the market's turning up, there's an uptick. Everyone was positive and optimistic, and I'm like, what is the fundamental change to drive this optimism? I mean, okay, I get it, we're pumping each other up, and like, that's good, fine, but realistically speaking, you have an inventory problem, and I'm not really sure what's actually going to have to take place for that to change in the near future. Right, so I think you're completely right, and I think we've actually put out a guide called the Title Agency Survival Guide, where we're actually trying to teach title agencies what they need to do to survive what seems to be a 1 to 2 year long, bit of a slump. So yeah, absolutely, and I've this curiosity. Can you tell me a little bit about dctitleguy.com? Why and how did you start that before we get into the...
Yeah. So again, I was a title salesperson in Phoenix, Arizona. Again, didn't know a lot for a while. And I started to learn more and more as I was evolving on what are some of the things that realtors are not good at, they really need help with, in which I could position myself as always being ahead of them, and that is their website presence usually is terrible. They're really bad at videos, or don't want to shoot videos, or don't realize the value of what that looks like. They understate the value of Google and the power that it has, and the sustainability. If you know how to rank in certain places, that you can be there for a very long time and get thousands of eyeballs to your business while you're doing anything else in your life. They don't really get that. It was about direct mail marketing and how many postcards can I send out, though the lifespan of your postcard is very short, right? Unless someone has an immediate need at that moment. So when I moved to the DC area in 2012, before I did that, I hired a website company to build me a custom WordPress website. I started trying to figure out how to use it and write articles and learn some SEO strategies, and I created a YouTube channel and started shooting videos, and everyone when I teach classes thinks that, they see the more polished, right, product of 2023 and think that's what it's always been like, and that's far from the truth, right? I was not good at videos,
100%.
not great, and the articles were not that great, and probably grammar issues and whatever. But I tell a lot of my coaching clients is that you just got to do, you just do, and and I have no problem failing forward, and I did. But at the same time, it was the great way for me, especially moving to a new market, to immediately differentiate myself from all the other people that are trying to capture realtor business. They were talking about legal and this and that, or let me help you with your good settlement, which is all great. But my whole thing was, how can I help you get more people to know you exist, know what your value is, discover you when they have a real estate need, because where I live in Washington, D.C. area, people move here in and out constantly. So if I live in Arizona and I'm moving to DC and I want to live in a certain area and I Google something, how does that realtor come up and how are they there to get that business? And if I could even give them a decent amount of tips and add value in that way, I'm going to have clients. I'm going to have people that are going to want to work with me. So moving into a new market, I figured that to me is the fastest way to create value, to take the content that I'm writing or shooting, to push it out to as many people as possible, to create some sort of like brand recognition and for people even to figure out who I am as quickly as possible. So that's what I did.
That's a very good point. I was having a conversation with someone last week, and they were worried about, it's kind of what you said, like, all right, this is what we do, right? But we don't really know what other type of content we need to push outside of that scope of what we do. And what I told them is quite simple. Look, that's your value proposition. But to find out what is the range of topics you might address, go back up from that value proposition. What does that ultimately help people with? And talk about all those things connected to that purpose, right? So be purpose driven when you build content. Like if I'm a title agency, right, I could talk about the settlement, but ultimately that helps them close more deals, be more confident, just grow basically, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is touch all the topics that have to do with their growth. Is that a fair assessment? Is that where you're
100%.
kind of?
Yeah, 100%. So, if you read my articles or watch my videos, I very rarely ever talk about me, right? It's not about me or I did this or I did that. It's all about how I always try to position is what someone's reading or watching, is it educating them and making them smarter? Is it potentially solving a problem for them, right? That helps them become a better agent. And then in turn, does that create value back to me, right? Do I become more credible with them? And I know that it works because when I get calls from a lot of people, especially title companies, they act like they know me. They tell me I had one woman tell me to my face at Daryl Turner's Title Sales Mastery that had it not been for my content, she would have never made it in title sales, because that's how she learned to actually get her business off the ground, was by watching videos and reading content. So it's kind of cool to hear that. But at the end of the day, and I tell realtors this too, if you're out there pounding your chest about how great you are, people get turned off by that. Right? Talk about what problems you solve for the people that you're trying to attract.
Right. And speaking of problems, I know you're coaching a lot of title sales reps.
Yeah.
And so I would love to hear more about that. But the question is, from your experience in dealing with, everyone in the industry, what would you say is the biggest challenge to title sales reps in acquiring new agents?
So here's the thing. So it's not difficult per se to get an appointment with an agent, right? Or get maybe it is with the highest performers, but middle of the road, decently, they'll give you a lot of times they'll give you the at bat, especially now, right? They're like, hey, if you got a solution for me, tell me what it is. I need help. The problem is many times they don't know how to structure their appointments and they wing it. Right? So they go into an appointment. Hey, Alex, I'm Wade. Hey, can I tell you all about Pruitt Title? And you throw up all over Alex about what Pruitt Title is all about. And then, hey, you got kids, I got kids. Oh, you like golf, I golf, right? We're friends. And then they try to become like their friend in the appointment. And then at the end, Alex says, oh man, I got to go to my next appointment. And you're like, oh, okay, man. Well, good meeting with you. Hopefully we can do business soon. And then they like leave.
Sure.
So when that happens, and trust me, I've been guilty of that, right? That's how I knew I was doing it wrong, because I had all these appointments and then I wasn't converting people into clients. So when I have coaching clients when I say, hey, tell me about your appointments, what does that look like? So I'm like, so did you ask them how they're currently generating their clients? Did you ask them, what do they do? What are some of the biggest problems that they have in their business? And if they could implement these couple things, it'd make them better. Who do they currently work with in title? Why do they keep sending them the business? What do they look for in a title company relationship? Like, how could you add value to their business right now that could help them maybe potentially get another listing or a buyer? Like, you got to figure out their blind spots. At the end of all of that, then you maybe give them information about your current title company, what problems you solve because they told you what problems they need solved or what their issues might potentially be. And then you go into, it's like going to the doctor and the nurse comes in and she asks you all types of problems. What do you got going on? What's the issue? How you feeling? We take the temperature. And then at the end, the doctor comes in and says, well, the nurse gave me all the information about what potentially is wrong with you. Let's talk about solutions. So that's what you are. You're the solution guy. Then when you provide them with solutions and give them all these things that you can do to help them, the ask for business at the end of the appointment becomes so much easier. I want to reiterate that, asking them for business in the first appointment, okay? Because they're right in front of your face. If you have the ability to ask them for business right there, ask them that you want to ask them and tell them you want to earn their next transaction so you can close it.
I would really love to go into this whole process step by step and kind of try to, provide our listeners with specific actionable insights. So let's start with getting the appointment.
Yep.
What do you recommend? What's the biggest
bunch
tip
of ways
there?
So the cool thing is now with technology, there's a bazillion ways to generate appointments. When I started in 2005, I didn't have Facebook or Instagram. YouTube was just getting off the ground, wasn't really anything. So if I wanted to generate an appointment with an agent, it was either I directly called them, right? Text wasn't even really there. It was like T9. I don't know if you guys remember T9. That's horrible texting. Otherwise, I had to go directly to an office and see if Alex was sitting in the Keller Williams office, and I had to go in there and bug him and be annoying, right? Almost to get in front of him.
Or if someone let you in.
Yeah. Or I would have a closing package for another agent in the office and try to get by the front desk person, and so I could go back there and see Alex, but then go see all the other people at the same time. And I would, attend events, happy hours, etc. So obviously calling people is number one. I mean, in the market that we're in, there has to be a huge emphasis on prospecting. If you're not dialing and you don't have a call list every day of the agents who you need to be in front of, not just you, even current clients, your nurtures and commits. These are people that told you previously they would send you business but haven't sent you business yet. Non-directing customers on open orders or closed orders. Hey, thank you for opening an order with us, allowing us to handle that side of the transaction. Oh, hey, I saw your transaction just closed on 123 Anywhere Street. How did it go? Great. Love to follow up with you, talk about how I can help you, set an appointment that way. People that are on your Instagram and Facebook, right? Hey, someone just posted a listing. Maybe write them a message and say, congratulations, you need help with an open house or a broker open. I'd love to talk about how I can help you with that. For me, I post a lot of reels and videos on Instagram. So when people like all of my stuff, like I posted one yesterday about how I can help people target market for listings and go after buyers and renters and all this stuff. So I have a bunch of agents who've liked that. Well, since they liked it, if it's an agent who I don't do business with, I'll send them a direct message, or I'll just call them and say, hey, thanks for liking my post. Do you need help getting listings, or do you need help with some of the things that I talked about? As an easy follow-up. Doing other events for your office. I have an event coming up next week. I'm doing a reel day. So I have a videographer coming in to shoot professional Instagram reels for agents. Well, I'm only going to invite the agents who I want to be part of it. So that's an easy opportunity to call them, ask them to come, and then of course I can follow up for an appointment afterwards. So, but the theme is it's heavy prospecting. And also your follow-up has to be crazy. Like, you need to follow up with people in this market until they tell you to die or remove from the call list or email list. follow up, follow up, follow up, because we're in a market where you can't just meet with somebody and Alex says, yeah, I'm working with, I have all this business and I'll just send you whatever I can send you. It's like, people need help. And also, just because they have a deal to send you doesn't mean that they can actually send it, because in our market, especially where the buyer directs, the listing agent's getting 10 offers, 20 offers on a house, they're going to direct the deal to wherever they want to go. So I have to
Right.
educate both sides.
So when you reach out to people, let's say on social, right? Top of the funnel, do you reach out offering something, or you just check in with them, and like, what's the strategy fundamentally?
So I'll give you an example. So I did it last night. Top agent I know, don't work with her, but I know her, she knows me. I saw on Instagram she has a brand new listing. It's a nice one. And so I reached out to her direct message. I was like on my couch at like 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, hey, congrats on your brand new listing. Are you having an open house on Saturday? I'd love to pull 100 houses around that current listing, and I can, pull the phone numbers and email addresses for those homeowners. Would you like that?
Wow.
And then she wrote back, oh my God, that's amazing. Yes. And then I wrote back, great, I'll do it tomorrow and I'll give you a call. Also, I want to chat with you about, if I'm doing this, can you please put seller prefers Pruitt Title on your listing so the buyer knows what a good offer looks like to you? And she wrote back, definitely, if you can help me.
Wow.
So something simple, and I'll tell you this, and I say this in classes and I say this to my coaching clients, the easiest things to do in our business are the easiest things not to do in our business. That wasn't a hard thing to do.
Right.
I just did it. Didn't have to do it. I could have kept scrolling, but I did it. And then she responded and it turned into something good. So now she's on my call list today.
That's awesome. It's almost like reminds me of that whole scale the unscalable thing, right? Like it looks like you're really diving deep into every single prospect and like doing a lot of work up front, which is something that most people are kind of afraid of doing, because like, oh, why do I do all of this? Maybe it doesn't materialize into anything. Well, it's not going to become anything if you don't do this, right? Like,
and be prepared for some stuff to not materialize.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? It happens, whatever. But you know what? I'm one of those people where I try to target the right people, build the right relationships with the right people, and those right people, if you are adding value, they get it. Like, game recognizes game, right? Like, they know.
Right.
And then they refer you, they introduce you to other people because they recognize, or they give you speaking opportunities in front of their team or whatever else. It can turn into so many different things. But if you're walking around saying, look, here's a calendar for 2023, or here's a pen and pen, please use Pruitt Title, like in this market, that's going to get you nowhere. It's going to get you nowhere.
There's one thing, I really want to jump into this thing because it irritates me every single time I encounter it. This is a lot of work, right? And unfortunately, from what I've noticed in speaking to hundreds of title agencies over at TitleCapture, very few of them actually have title sales reps. Many of them rely on the escrow officer to do the job of the title sales rep, which is, to me, it's mind-blowing. Can you speak about that a little bit? Like, what is your take on it?
It's tough.
Why is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few instances. One of them was in my coaching where a girl was an escrow officer who transitioned into sales, and it was successful because she already kind of had that mentality ready to go. But in many instances, in most instances, it's not, like, because it's a different mindset. Like, for me, if you look at even disc profile, shocker, I'm a high D, right? DI, mostly D. You put a high D behind the desk, but handling files, like, I'll be the worst escrow officer you've ever seen, right? You'd fire me in a week. Yeah, it'd be terrible. But conversely, if you put escrow officers, who are usually SCs, especially Cs, you put them in a high performing business development, client facing role, it's not them. It's not them most of the time. And I've had this conversation before where, of course, escrow, and every title rep who's listening to this has probably had this happen where the escrow officer says, oh, must be nice, you're going to go play golf today with your client, right? And I'm like, whoa, you want to switch? You want to switch roles? And immediately they're like, no, I do not want to do what you do, right? So, the thing is, I think a lot of times title company owners, they understate the value of what the rep can do. because maybe in the past they hired a salesperson, but the problem is they didn't train them correctly or help them the way that needed to be helped, because maybe the owner was never client facing as a title sales rep previously. So that person didn't make it, and that person was unsuccessful or didn't bring in a lot of business. So like, why would I invest money into this person just to have them more than likely not make it? I have a proven person in my office who's been with me for a long time, who he or she also talks to clients all the time in transactions. Why can't that person just go out and develop the business? Which on paper sounds great, but in reality, most of the time is a loser. It does not work because it's hard to put on your escrow officer hat and then all of a sudden you're like, I got to go put on this lead generation hat and be this other person. It's very difficult to make those, to transition and then transition back, right? It's the same thing when someone's, hey, I'm a closer and I do sales. I'm like, well, what are you? You a closer or you do sales? Well, if you look at any time this happens, especially in the market that we're in, where getting client acquisition is hard versus when it back a couple years ago was easy. If you go to a fork in the road and say, what do you want to do? You want to go acquire new clients, hit the phones, go to events, have high-level conversations, develop follow-up strategies, really work it, or we'll give you a file, it's already done. You have to go meet a buyer. They're going to be really happy to see you, and you're going to close the transaction and bring the file back. These people are in the mindset of, well, I'm going to go take the path of least resistance, and I'm going to do my job for the company and be valuable to the company. I'm going to go do a closing. The problem is that closing was going to happen regardless. Right. So why don't you have somebody else do it and you go out and create new customers? But title companies are like, well, look, we're going to save money. We're going to hire one person to do two jobs. But in reality, what they don't understand is they lose out on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue a year that they never see, because they don't realize that person could have been creating more business. Or if they just only hired a high-performing sales rep, the company would have made far more money. And Absolutely. They don't always think about it that way.
The sheer time required to do both jobs, it's impossible. How many hours would you say a good title sales rep spends every week with not just prospecting, but all the activities?
Oh, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I quantify it, because I kind of look at it as like I'm just never off.
Right.
Like, I go on vacation, my phone doesn't die. I was in Italy in September and I was talking to clients about contracts they were ratifying. Like, I was still taking phone calls. Like, I'm at the beach. It doesn't matter. It's like when you build up a certain level of book of business, like, I don't know, like, it's 2023. Like, you're readily available all the time, and it's very difficult to just turn everything off. But I mean, it's more than 40 hours, that's for sure, because, I'm on my couch skimming Instagram, hitting up agents at night. Like, I'm texting people, following up. I mean, my wife will look over, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm texting two people. I got an Instagram conversation going. I got a Facebook Messenger. I'm sending an email, like, all at the same time.
Right. It's funny because, I won't name names, but a title agency owner, they're like a smaller, like a boutique firm, really cool. But she was telling me how if her escrow officer would just spend 1 or 2 hours a day doing sales work, that would be awesome. And my mind didn't compute. Wait, 2 hours a day? Like, doing what? How about being available, right? So, yeah, it's kind of screwy. All right, so we've gone through, I have one more question on the top of the funnel. Given the current market situation, is Pruitt Title sort of targeting new markets that you probably didn't tap into before? Are you, purposely going over, new opportunities, like maybe developers or any kind of other, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're definitely targeting not necessarily markets per se. I mean, it's more of agents, right? Top agents, top teams. Locally, like, we're heavily involved with Nova and DC Real Producers Magazine. Like, I'm a writer for the magazine, shocker. But they have events, and obviously the top 250 realtors are featured in this magazine every single month. So, we know who our targets are. So I make sure that myself, my sales team, that we have our top 10 targets every single month. We track, obviously, not just open orders, but more importantly, new customer open orders, and we celebrate those highly because, if someone brings in 30 orders a month, but they're 30 orders every month and it's never any new customers, then to me, that's a problem, because what are you doing with your month if you're not bringing in new people? So when they bring in new people, like I had a new customer bring in a contract yesterday, so we all kind of like celebrated that, right? New customer acquisitions. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to do different events, and like I got this Realtor Real Day that I'm bringing in a videographer. Part of it is I partner with people like that, having professional videographers and editors and all these people that I can either use myself or refer to other agents, because part of being successful in title sales, in my opinion, is also being a connector. Like, hey, I got somebody for you. Hey, I know who can do this. Hey, let me introduce you to somebody. Like, so if you can be a connector, that's also going to be a huge value add to realtors who need that stuff. But definitely it's targeting, the middle to upper level agents, right? I don't necessarily need to be working with the number one agent. Sometimes that's not always the best thing to do.
Right.
But yeah, middle to upper level teams and high producing agents, because even they have some significant blind spots in a market like this, because their overhead costs are still coming on and they're not doing as many deals as they were doing before. They're looking for solutions. They need to pivot. They haven't pivoted. And so we can bring a lot of solutions to them, and that's who we're directly calling and going after. And because they know it and we can bring them solutions, they're going to take our call, potentially meet with us, and we're going to get meetings that maybe we weren't able to get before when they were selling, 7 listings a month.
Right. Do you go after the lenders as well, or are you focused solely on
No.
real estate agents?
So am I going after lenders right now?
Yeah.
I'm not going after them. Am I calling them to check in, make sure they're
Right.
okay? Want to introduce myself, let them know that I can partner with them, or they can partner with me on some things that I'm doing? Definitely doing that. There will be refinances, right? People locking in loans and closing, now and previously will refi at some point, right? They locked in a rate at 7. As soon as the rates go under 6, they could refi. So I'm not negating those people. I mean, I closed well over $1 million just in refi in 2020 and 2021. I do not understate the value of those people and what that can bring to the table. So, the lenders that are on the purchases, don't negate calling them. At least, hey, love to see you on the contract. How are things going with you? Love to talk to you about your business, what's working for you, what's not. At least make good relationships, because there will be opportunities there to get business in the future, for sure.
All right, so let's go back to our little process there, right? So let's say you got the first meeting.
Yep.
Now what? You meet with the new agent.
So when I meet with them, I do a couple things. One, I always thank them for their time, right? I get it, regardless of whatever. Hey, hey, Alex, thank you for your time. I know you're busy. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me. So I like to kind of do an icebreaker question. So, hey, how long have you been in the business? What got you into real estate? Mm-hmm. I just want to feel them out. What's their background? I don't go right into like their business stuff. I want to just kind of get them talking. Again, get them talking, not me talking. So they tell me, oh yeah, I used to do this, or I used to do that, or yeah, I've been in the business for. I want to establish, because there's not a correlation per se of how long someone's been in the business, right? Unless it's like less than a year, to what they know. Because sometimes, I've been in the business 30 years. That usually tells me they need a lot of help, because they probably haven't pivoted that much or as much as they should. Right. But, if they also tell me they've been in the business, less than 3 years, I know they need help, because they've never experienced anything but someone handed me a lead or the phone rang and I opened a door for someone and they wrote a contract.
Right.
Okay? Or I took a listing, it sold, and it sold quickly. So I want to establish kind of length of time, right? Yeah, I'll then ask him like kind of how do you currently generate your customers? And as you might imagine, I get agents that say, well, I get my business mostly by referral. And I'll say, okay, well, what percentage of your business would you say comes from referral? Is it more than 50%? If they say yes, then I say, okay, well, let's talk about lead source funnels.
Right.
Because if over half of your business comes from one lead source funnel, to me, that's a major problem, right? Would you put half of all the money that you have, assets, everything, you liquidated everything, would you put half of everything into one source? Probably not. Right? You got to diversify how you're generating clients, and especially in the market that we're currently in, If over half your business is coming from one place, that's an issue. So I'll say, okay, well, let's back up. Are there any other lead source funnels that you get business from? Open houses. Maybe you pay for Zillow. Do you get any business from social media? Client appreciation events. How many client appreciation events do you do? Or have you done any? Do you get any organic leads from maybe your website or from a YouTube channel? Do you get anything like that? Like, how else are you, a farm, right? How else are you generating customers? And then they'll be like, well, so then once they tell me if there are additional, I'll say, what are the 1 or 2 additional lead source funnels that are really important to you right now that you think could be helpful to your business? So then again, they're telling me.
Right.
I'd love to start a farm. You know what? I haven't done a client appreciation event in a long time. I really need to do one. I really need to get back in front of my top 8 customers, right? Or whatever it is, they tell me what it is. And then I say, great, I'd love to help you with your farm. Yeah, I've done like tons and tons of client events. I have tons of ideas, and I can give you some of what I've done in the past. Would you want to hear them? So immediately trying to figure out like adding value solutions.
Right.
So when they tell me about, how they're creating their clients, you have a CRM that you're currently using for your business, right? Well, yes or no. So I establish if they're using a CRM, that tells me, are they taking their business fairly seriously, and do they have something established, or do they not, and they're kind of winging it? So if they say they don't have one, then I've done a lot of work with Wise Agent. It's a great CRM. I use it personally. I know Brandon Wise. I'll recommend Wise Agent, and I can tell them I can set up an additional one-to-one to walk them through it, whether it's Zoom or whatever, and how they can get set up. So again, another solution right there. And then I'll say, okay, tell me more about what's the 1 or 2 things that you could add into your business right now that would make you a better realtor? Like, tell me about, do you have a video presence? Do you help with your website? Like, is social media a thing for you? Like, tell me what you're good at. What are some of the blind spots? So then they'll walk me through those things, and that gives me another opportunity to say, well, I can help you with YouTube. I can help you with that. I can help you with that. So keep in mind, I'm offering solution. I haven't said anything about Pruitt Title.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So I'm going through solutions, and then I'll go into, when you have the opportunity to direct your title business, where do you send it most of the time? Do you have a relationship somewhere? Well, typically I like to use so-and-so. Awesome. Is there a reason why you keep sending them your business? I want to establish, is there a relationship there? Most of the time it's not really. Like, oh, they're across the hall. My company has a JV with them. I don't know, like, that's kind of who I've just sent my business to since I've started in the business. Or I want to figure out if they say, oh yeah, Susie Smith, escrow officer. Oh, she's the greatest thing in the world. I love her. Okay. Is there somebody who I'm up against or not? And even if I am, so tell me a little bit more about how that title company is helping you with the things that you just told me you need help with. And well, they don't really do that, or they haven't done that, or they haven't offered that. I have a client who I actually spoke to today. How I got her as a client, she came to a class that I taught on YouTube because she needed help with videos. This is like 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago. I called her up. 5 minutes into the call, she goes, let me stop you right now. I use XYZ Title for all my deals. I've given them 41 buyer sides this year, 41. And she's like, they're great. Okay, so then I sidestepped that. Tell me more about what you're trying to do to integrate into your business. She told me about she needs to start a farm, video, client appreciation event. So I said, well, tell me about how they're helping you with the things that you need help with. And then she goes, actually, if you go to think about it, they haven't even taken me to lunch. She said that. And I said, well, I started going into like how I've done those things, how I can help her with the things she told me to help with. I scored her an appointment with her the next day, face to face. 5 days later, she sent me a contract.
Wow.
And I've had her business since that day. And I spoke to her this morning. So I could have easily said, oh, you use so-and-so? Okay, well, keep me in mind for a second option if that ever goes wrong, and I'll just check in with you later. I just kept her talking. I sidestepped it and said, well, tell me more about what else you're trying to achieve in your business. She went into it, and then it led to something else. So once I established, is there a title relationship, right? Then I start talking about Pruitt Title. Who we are, we have 2 attorneys on staff, we can do this, we can do that, we can travel for closing, we have an excellent staff, they're awesome, my clients love them, whatever. I go into whatever I want you to say about that. And then at the very end, I ask them for the business, right? You have to ask on the first meeting. If you don't ask for the first meeting, I'll ask, well, why didn't you ask them for the business? Well, I didn't know if the time was right. Well, when is the right time?
How are you going to know?
How are you going to know, right? You don't ask, you don't get, you never know. So I'm like, well, because here's the thing: the longer time goes, the further opportunity goes. So you need to be able to ask them up front. So, but when you can ask them about their business and provide solutions to that business or potential solutions, the ask becomes pretty easy, right? And the ask isn't, Alex, I want to close your next deal. No, it's Alex. You know what? Yeah, I know, right? Alex, I'd really love the opportunity to work with you. Like, do you think we can be closing your next 2 or 3 transactions? Is that something that we can be doing together? Do you want me to connect you to the processing and closing team at Pruitt Title so you know where to send your contracts? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I'd love to give you an opportunity on your next deal. Right? I ask them, I'd love to close your next 2 or 3 transactions at Pruitt Title. Is that something that we can be doing together? Okay. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying I don't ask them for their next deal, 2 or 3. Because here's the thing, you could send me a deal.
Right.
Here's a deal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I call it the go away deal, right? They give you the go away deal. Here's your one deal to go away, and then when you come back and say, well, I love more of your business, you're like, well, you asked me for one, I sent you one, I gave you one. What else do you
Yeah.
want? So you ask them for 2 or 3 to establish the relationship, right? So if they have 3 transactions with your office, it goes really well. You're following up with them during the transaction, all of that sort of thing. By the time they get to transaction number 4, it's a pretty easy write-in.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
And I got a little question. I want to touch on when you offer help, let's say with YouTube, with farming. Well, I suppose YouTube, you're giving them access to some kind of an educational resource. You're not really doing anything specifically for them on YouTube, like
Well, it depends.
on behalf of them.
I helped out a team yesterday, and it was a Zoom where they logged into their YouTube channel, and they shared their screen, and I walked them through. Oh, your keywords are wrong. Like,
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't name your videos that way. Like, I don't do that for everyone. I do that for the
Right.
agents that are obviously producers.
Yeah.
You don't name your videos this way, name them this way. Here's how you do the in-screen annotations. Here's how you create the chapters. Like, make sure you fill out your descriptions, put your key phrases in your descriptions. Like, I'll walk them through it. It doesn't take long. Usually I'll record it, right? That's the value add, is I record it and then I send it to them and say, here's a recorded video of me walking you through all these steps that you need to take before you actually hit publish, so that hopefully you can get more people to discover and watch your content. And then I do let them know in the meeting that I'm doing this for free.
Right.
This is a no cost thing. You want to go hire a company to walk you through all this stuff? It's not free. I'm free, right? In return for being free and valuable, and I act like the thing that I'm asking in return is like pittance, right? Alex, the only thing I'm asking you is when you write a contract this weekend is you put Pruitt Title on it. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And it's a very easy yes. And when they give you those commitments, especially in the appointment, they give you a commitment there. The follow-up is easy. Hey, I'm calling to follow up because I know last time we talked, we spoke about doing business together. How are things going right now? You working with any buyers?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm calling is the last time we met, we spoke about doing business together. I'm just following up.
Makes sense.
I mean, so the thing is, the reason why title salespeople struggle sometimes is because they don't know what to say, right? You see a hot girl at the bar. Listen, if you had the playbook of what you needed to say for her to be interested in you and go on a date with you, every guy would be bum rushing her, right? But most of the time they're scared to death because they don't know what to say. But if you know kind of how to structure those conversations and ask a certain way, it becomes easier. It becomes softer. They get it, and you can convert at a higher rate.
Yeah, and also have authenticity and, like really willing to help, really willing to give value, because a lot of people, right, and do it. But a lot of people like take this as some sort of a hack, some sort of a tactic. It's like, okay, sure, you're getting what you want, but you really have to give. It almost reminds me of Gary Vaynerchuk's jab, 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 right hook, right? And 51-49. Like, those things are so true. And then you have that whole giftology thing. I don't know if you heard of it. Like, really cool stuff, and I wish more people did it. So I'm curious, after you have that initial conversation and you make the ask,
Yep.
on average, how long does it take for them to send you the first order?
Well, it depends. I mean, the market that we're currently in, who knows, right? Because it could be they could direct from the buyer side, but right now it's almost easier to direct from the listing side because there's so many offers. But
Right.
I mean, typically, if it's a producer, I mean, hopefully easily within 30 days, they're going to get a deal, right? Hopefully, if not sooner. But obviously, one of the questions you could be asking in the appointment is, hey, by the way, are you currently working with any buyers, right? Oh yeah, I'm taking a buyer out this weekend. Great. So if you know that they're taking a buyer out this weekend, awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
If you guys find a property that you like, I'd love the opportunity for it to say Pruitt Title on the contract. So, and even if you just say that, think about how I just said that, right? Give me your next deal. No, if you're taking out buyers this weekend, I would love the opportunity to earn, right?
Right.
And have it say Pruitt Title on the contract. And then you just shut up and let them let them go forward and say, sure, man, that's awesome. Yeah, listen, if we find a house and I'll make sure we put you on the contract and give you an opportunity.
It's interesting because it gives them sort of the feeling that they have, the power to give you an opportunity, right? And they do want to sort of take that, and exercise it.
And you're also letting them know that you're trying to earn it, right? You don't just want it. Oh, I deserve it. I mean, not to crap on JVs, but like that's my issue with that is, what do you mean? Like, I don't need to earn the business. We're paying you money like through the business, so it just comes. Like, you're supposed to give it. Just give it. And for me, like, that's not the mentality that I have. So when I see that, I'm like, I just don't agree with it because, I mean, people can run their businesses however they want. I'm not saying they can't do that. But for me, it's like, I want to earn business through value. I want to help you. And part of my value prop is I'm not blowing smoke to agents in terms of like website or video or pulling helping them target the listings. Like, I have the data mining programs. I know how to pull them. I've been shooting videos for 11 years. I've been writing articles. I've written for Inman. I write for a magazine. Like, I know how to rank in Google. Like,
right.
So I can talk to them and give them advice on the things that I've been doing or know how to do. I'm not saying go shoot videos because it can help your business. And then they're like, oh, well, how many videos have you shot? I'm like, I've never done one. Like, no. So it creates the credibility immediately.
And so do you have like a follow-up sequence or cadence that you follow, like, and how does that look like?
Typically after I meet with them, I mean, I put a reminder in my calendar 1 week out, right? 1 week out, right? To follow up with them. Hey, I'm just checking in, following up. How are things going in your business? Anything else I can be doing to help you right now? I know last time we spoke, we talked about how you wanted to put together that client appreciation event. Have you put any thought into that, like in terms of when you want to get that done? I talked to an agent yesterday, the exact same thing. And 'cause I was pushing him to do it because he knew he needed to do it. And now he's going to do it April 1st on a Saturday. And he's like, oh yeah, whatever. They sent me an email. We're going to do it. The whole thing's set up now. But I'm following up about specific things that we talked about. I mean, take notes in your meetings so you don't like forget everything. But yeah, if you're not following up on a regular basis, typically one of the things I ask them in appointments too, towards the end is, what do you like to do for fun when you're not selling real estate? Because maybe it's like, oh, I'm a runner. Oh, I love to run. I love to play golf. Well, I play golf. I like Washington Nationals baseball. Well, season's coming up. Well, I can get tickets to the game. We can go do that. Like, is there something that we can find that's likability?
Right.
And then I'll ask them, hey, do you mind if I connect with you on social? That's an easy ask. So then I can friend them on Facebook. I can follow them on Instagram. And then I can get a window into what they're doing.
Right. And talking about taking notes, I suppose you're plugging those notes into some kind of a CRM. I would like to hear what that is.
Yeah, at Pruitt we use HubSpot, but obviously I have Wise Agent as well, which I've always used forever. When I was at Stewart, we had Salesforce. So, I mean, my point is this: regardless of what it is, use a CRM. I don't care if you're a small title agency. Invest into some level of CRM because you have to be able to manage people, and obviously not everyone is the same, right? You have your warm leads, your top 10 A customers, people near the bottom who are kind of like wishy-washy, whatever. Like you can't put everyone in one master list and say, well, it's all the same, because it's not.
If you were to give advice to a title agency owner, let's say, or someone, the COO, who would have to make the decision of what kind of CRM to go for to help out the sales reps, what would you tell them to look for? What are the sort of top 3 key traits, features?
Well, I would say one that's ease of use, right? That's not very hard to use because we're all ADHD, crazy high D people. So if it becomes complicated, we're out. We're out, right? So something that's easy to use, very functional, maybe something that potentially speaks to your software, if that's even possible, to get it to filter orders into CRM, right? So that you're not having to do double duty all the time. That makes it simple. Obviously has the features that allows you to put in the contact notes and rank your people A, B, C, and D, but has those easier functions so that because here's the thing, you don't want to be boggled down by time where it's like, wait, I'm doing all this stuff and then I got to go to the CRM and then it's like,
Right.
I got to put in all this information. It's going to take me so long. I don't have time for that. So things that are quick and easy that you can get everything in there where it's not going to suck up hours of your day, or you go home and it's like, okay, well, after my kids go to bed, that's my time to put all my stuff into CRM and I feel like I have no life. Like, you don't want that. So things that are make it easy for your people to get all those things in there quickly, and allow them to manage their contacts efficiently and rank them and categorize them.
Do you have an assistant to help you with that?
I do not. I do not currently have an assistant.
You need one.
We are not in the market of having assistants, unfortunately. I had one at Stewart, and I had an ISA at Stewart. That's a huge opportunity if you can get your business to that point where you can get an ISA to make calls for you and set appointments for you. That's huge. But unfortunately, they're going the way of the dodo in our current market. So
Right. Now, since we're quickly talking about software, I'm always interested to learning how our software, TitleCapture, integrates and fits into, your title agency's workflow. So, how do you view that?
So, I mean, it's funny. A lot of title companies, and I've had this before, where there's good software for what TitleCapture does in terms of net sheets, buyer cost sheets, and being able to create accurate information. And there's title companies who are really bad at that. And the worst thing that happens is you work for a title company and they tell you that yours sucks, so that they use your competitors every single time to calculate fees. And then of course your fees are not their fees. And then the deal comes over and they're like, oh, we already calculated it this way. Can you adjust your fees?
Oh, wow.
Oh, that happens. Yeah, that happens.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, I love it when lenders do that. And then you have to adjust. But I had a realtor a few weeks ago tell me that she was happy I was over at Pruitt because she's like, yeah, I use Pruitt TitleCapture, for all the stuff that I do. It's the best one out there. So, I mean, to me, having software that does that, that's easy to use, it's accurate, easy to access, is super easy, because I teach this with my coaching clients is, the ease of business. How easy are you making it for people to do business with you? Whether you have Zocum or BankShot for your EMDs, or you do Iran, or you travel for closing, whatever you're doing, right? But part of it is, how easy can they access your fees? Are they accurate? Is it simple, right? Is it something that they can create a nice little report, customize it, send it to their clients? If the answer is yes, it's going to help you all the way. So it only makes sense to have the best software for that.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's great to hear that. Ever since we started 10 years ago, it's our 10th anniversary. That's actually so weird. But it feels like yesterday. But
Time flies, man.
Our mantra was always to, really focus on the ease of use, so that improves the title agency's client experience. And because you have all these different touch points. Yeah, sure, quoting is one. We could go into any other part of the process and improve that. Everything that's client facing is really what we're interested in creating that sort of easy to use interface, because we really believe that is keeping agents loyal to title agencies. And it's important because it transforms their work. It's like you said, I don't want to go home and have to input all this stuff into my CRM. I've got a life. Well, that's the same thing we're focused on, right? I don't want you to spend all that time with unnecessary work going through 5 screens just to get a title quote. which
Right.
seems to still be the norm with some of our competitors, but I don't want to go into that because I
No,
don't like
it's the
conflict.
norm, trust.
Yeah. So, all right, well, it's been a really fun interview. I think people got a lot of useful information. I do want you to tell them about dctitleguy.com and what they can get from there and how you coach them, because I really wanted to get that ultimate value from you. So
Yeah. So yeah, if you go to dctitleguy.com, I have hundreds of articles, blogs, information. A lot of it's for realtors, but I have a couple segments on there just for title sales reps and for title companies, like how they can grow their business, how they become successful. And I kind of have the little playbook on how to get started in title sales all the way up to, what they can do to create success in this market right now. I think that's actually my latest article. Having moved to a new company recently, I haven't written an article in about a month, so I got to get on that. I have a couple in the works. One of them is called "Why Title Companies Aren't Really Title Companies Anymore." So I'll just leave you hanging on that, and I'll give you information. But also, about a year ago, I started coaching title salespeople, not because that was my intent, but because of all the content that I have. I've gotten hundreds of phone calls from title people around the country, and I love talking to them. And it turned into, do you have a coaching program? How much does it cost? All this stuff. So I developed a coaching program. It's a 3-month program. We cover 3 different modules of getting your business off the ground: client acquisition, conversion, retention, scripting, right? Going over all that stuff, objections. We cover social media, how to grow your brand and get that sort of expansion. And then we also talk about teaching classes, doing presentations, and teaching some of the classes that I teach, so that you know how to teach them in your market and you can stand out and you can be that person. I had a coaching client in San Antonio who got to me at 6 months and she knew very little. And last year she was the trainer of the year in San Antonio Board of Realtors. So,
wow.
And she's now the #1 sales rep on her team. And
Great job.
Some people take it and run, some people less so, right? But I tell people, when I try to get you involved in coaching, my job is to educate you and help you, hold you accountable, and also make you uncomfortable. So if you can but here's the thing, if you can get uncomfortable to the point where that becomes comfortable, then you're going to be fine, right? Like, shoot a video. I don't want to do that. Okay, I shot 10 videos. I'm fine. So it's doing things that get you out of your comfort zone, because if you want to grow your business, you can't keep doing the same stuff that you were doing before.
100%.
So, that's what it's about. So if you need coaching, or go to my website, dctitleguy.com. I have a tab called Title Sales Coaching Program. You can fill out a form or call me, email me, and I will talk to you and set up a consultation.
Awesome. So everyone, hope you took notes. dctitleguy.com. If you need coaching, you know where to go. All right. So Wade, thanks a lot for being on this interview.
No problem, man.
It's a wrap for today's interview. Well, we hope, both me and Wade, we hope you guys enjoyed watching and learned something new. Make sure you check out TitleCapture.com and see how we help title agencies stay competitive and drive more agent loyalty. Again, make sure you go to dctitleguy.com, as well as Pruitt Title, Pruitt-Title.com, to get some inspiration. If you have any feedback or suggestions for topics you'd like for me to cover, feel free to reach out to me at alex@titlecapture.com or DM me on LinkedIn. I always love hearing from our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. I hope all of you have an awesome day and week, and we'll catch you on our next Title Capture interview. See you soon. Bye, everyone.